Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bringing you a 2012 team preview for the New York Giants. We're going to start with the offense and see what we can expect the Giants to look like in 2012.
As long as number 10 is back there quarterbacking for the New York Giants, you have to like their chances to get back to a Super Bowl, at least win another NFC East title. One thing Eli Manning does not get enough credit for is his mental toughness. Yes, he may not have the strong arm, may not have the rocket arm, may not be a fiery, in-your-face type of guy, but he doesn't fold in clutch situations. He doesn't fold in the fourth quarter. And if I had a game on the line type of situation and I needed a quarterback, I'm going to take Eli Manning because I know he's going to stand tall in the pocket. He's going to make sure the pass gets completed. And this is a guy that has every tool you want for an elite quarterback. And yes, he is elite. He's one of the top quarterbacks in this league. I'm looking at the backup situation. I like Ryan Perrilloux to beat out David Carr. I think Perrilloux has tremendous upside and should prove to be a huge asset for this Giants ball club. If Scrappy Doo was a running back, he'd be Ahmad Bradshaw. This guy runs with tenacity. He actually ran tougher inside than Brandon Jacobs, and Brandon Jacobs is 6'4", 270 pounds. Now Jacobs is gone. He's out west in San Francisco, so the bulk of the carries, the load of the running game will have to fall on the shoulders of Ahmad Bradshaw. But the good thing about it, this guy is game. He's ready for that challenge. He has to prove he can stay healthy for 16 games, and that hasn't shown he can. He hasn't shown he can do that so far in his career. So that's why the Giants went ahead and drafted David Wilson in the first round out of Virginia Tech. This guy has home run breakaway speed. If he gets a lane, if he gets a crease, he is gone. His only issue is holding on to the football. If he can maintain possession of the ball, this running game will look a lot better this year as opposed to last, as they have more breakaway threats in the backfield. What a year Victor Cruz had for the New York Giants. This is a guy that elevated his level of play each and every week and also elevated the passing attack as a whole. You talk about a passing attack for the New York Giants 2 years ago was very stagnant. One that was very basic, check down, deep pass across the middle. But you add Victor Cruz, you add explosiveness to the position. You also team him up with Hakeem Nicks, a guy, if he can stay healthy for 16 games, one of the better run after the catch wide receivers you'll find in the league, has huge hands, catches everything thrown his way. So the Giants, number 1 and number 2 wide receivers, pose huge threats to opposing defenses, and that's going to leave a lot of pressure, a lot of opportunity actually for the third wide receiver. Yes, they lose Mario Manningham. Keep an eye on a guy like Jarrell Jernigan. I liked him coming out of Troy. He's going to be able to tear up the underneath coverage. If not, then that's when Ruben Randall comes into play. That's why they drafted a guy that's a bigger version of Mario Manningham. You look at a guy that's 6'3", 210 pounds, runs smooth routes, has great acceleration, and also has solid hands. He's going to do a good job of filling in for Mario Manningham and being that third guy to take the top off of defense and get more one-on-one opportunities for those other wide receivers. The question mark has to be about the tight end position. They have to find a healthy pass-catching tight end. I know the Giants use a lot of tight ends that block very well, but they bring over Martellus Bennett from the Cowboys and also drafted a guy, Adrian Robinson, out of Cincinnati. They're very high on this guy. He has a lot of athleticism to the position, brings a lot of athleticism to the position, but can they stay healthy at that position, and also can they find someone to fill the void of Jake Ballard? The offensive line for the Giants last year had a lot of injuries. You look at David Boss missed some time in his first year as a Giant. Will Beatty missed some time with the eye injury. So can those guys come back to 100%? They don't have Kareem McKenzie anymore out there on the tackle. They're moving people around again. So the Giants' offensive line is always a constant question. But what they do well is that they pass protect very well. Eli Manning doesn't take a lot of hits from this offensive line, but they struggle as far as opening up holes in the running game. They have to find a consistent starting five, a consistent, healthy starting five that's going to open up holes and help the running game to help keep the offense well balanced. I'm looking for a big year out of Mitch Petrus as well. Can he build on what he was able to do last year? Those are the biggest questions I have about the Giants' offensive line. Here, the Giants make their money on the defensive line with guys like Jason Pierre-Paul. You look at another guy in Osi Umenyiora, finally got his contract solved, so he's going to be happy this year. You also look at Justin Tuck, another guy that lives in the backfield. So in the interior of their defense with Chris Canty and Linval Joseph, proved to be a huge success last year. So the Giants D-line is once again a huge strength and a huge reason why this team is going to put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. So you look at the added bonus of getting a guy like Marvin Austin, who they drafted last year. Can he get back healthy? That's going to be a big question. I look for them to have a huge season this year as a rotational defensive tackle. Bringing over a guy like Keith Rivers from the Cincinnati Bengals gives you a lot of versatility, what you want to do in your front seven. This guy can play coverage. He can also attack the running game. He has a lot of athleticism. So there's a lot to like about the Keith Rivers addition to this Giants linebacking core. Now you have him team up with Matthias Kiwanuka. You also have Michael Boley back there. And the Giants squad is have built some solid depth in this position, in this with this linebacking core. Last year they drafted they drafted a guy in Greg Jones, who I really liked in the 6th round, saw some minutes, started some games, and also Mark Herzlich was an undrafted rookie free agent that played a lot on special teams, but he provides depth. Chase Blackburn made quite possibly the biggest play in the Super Bowl. So the Giants linebacking core, which once was a huge weakness, is now a solid part of their defense. The Giants secondary get a huge boost with the return of Terrell Thomas from an ACL injury that he suffered in preseason. But when you look at this unit as a whole, especially the cornerback position, Corey Webster made a Pro Bowl last year, improved his play week in, week out, and was money in the playoffs, consistently making big plays. Now look at the guy they drafted, Jaron Hosley out of Virginia Tech, ball hawking guy, always had his hands on the football, and that's what you want from a defensive player. Prince Amukamara has to overcome his injury concern in order to be effective for this ball club. Now the safety position, Kenny Phillips, Antrell Roll, both guys do a great job of manning up on bigger wide receivers and being physical at the point of attack in the running game and making big plays as far as interceptions are concerned. Tyler Sass has a legitimate shot this year to win that third safety position, so they can go to that big nickel type of look that they love to do against teams like the Packers and the New Orleans Saints. You have to like the fact that a bulk of the guys returned from this team that won the Super Bowl last year. Yes, they lost Mario Manningham, and I thought that was a huge loss, but they went ahead and replaced him in the draft with a bigger, possibly better version of him and Ruben Randall. You look at the running game, you add a guy in David Wilson with explosiveness, a breakaway threat out of the backfield, something that they sorely lack on offense. Defensively, everybody practically returns. The defensive line will always be aggressive. The defensive front seven is very good now with the linebacking additions and the linebacking core having depth. The secondary will get better with Terrell Thomas, coming back from injury. So there's a lot to like about the New York Giants in 2012. The cause for concern I have is the Super Bowl hangover. Will that affect this team moving forward? You know how the Giants like to start slow or get that mid-season funk and get themselves out of it. Let's not kid ourselves. This team was 8-8 last year and made the playoffs and made a run to the Super Bowl. So can they get off to an early start? The schedule is very tough for these guys. The schedule makers set it up to where the Giants will have to get off to an early start. That's the biggest question marks, causes for concern I have about this season. I think the Giants still can finish first in the NFC East. So I'm looking at this team getting better at the receiver position after they lost Manningham, staying consistent on the defensive line, and just adding playmakers. They get Marvin Austin back, should be a nice rotational guy. They also bring over Keith Rivers. So the Giants have made the necessary improvements to not stay stagnant after the Super Bowl appearance. Look for another drawn-out battle in the NFC East, as they're going to have to fight off Philadelphia for that top spot.